Hey everyone, it's Andrew Brown and welcome to another video. In this one, we are going to be covering how to work with GitHub and specifically on editing Markdown files, changing assets, things like that, because I want cloud engineers to be able to provide good documentation. And Markdown is a format file that we will often work with in the industry. And so that is an essential skill. In my boot camps, I expect to see some kind of level of documentation and journaling. This has to do if I'm doing manual grading, I'm doing feedback, or I'm doing investigation. I want boot campers to provide context or to highlight areas where they might have gotten stuck and solutions that they tried and maybe have failed. So this is a hard requirement that you do documentation. So I want to make sure you have those skills, have those Markdown skills, specifically with GitHub. And that's what we're going to do here today. So I have a new repository called GitHub Docs Example. I want you to do the same. And you can go and create a repository here at the top. So if you go here to new repository, I'm going to get my head out of the way. I got a big head, so let's move it out over there. But you can create a new repository. And from there, just give it a moment to load. That took way longer than usual. But anyway, you're going to go ahead and type in the same thing, GitHub Docs Example. I'm not that picky about the name, but the idea is just pick something. And yeah, the name's already there. That's okay. I've already created mine. And we'll go ahead and create a public one. We will add a README. If you want to choose a license, you can do Apache 2. Doesn't really matter. And then you can go ahead and create the repository. Now, I already have mine, so I'm just going to click back here. And once you're there, this is what your screen should look like. The only thing you might not see is this Git pod button. I have that as a Chrome extension installed. So, GitHub is where your repository is hosted, but it also has a built-in editor or Markdown editor, and that's what I want you to use. So you can use cloud developer environments, and you can download the files, but if you use cloud developer environments, you are incurring credits. And if you're in the free tier of those credits, you don't want to use them up for editing Markdown files. You want to use something that is free. Or you can download this to your computer if you like and push it back up. But I find it very easy to edit inline here, and that's what we're going to do. So we have our README file here, and there are two different ways that we can edit this README file. And it's right here. There's a edit button there. We can also click into it, and we will see an edit button over here. If you drop down, you'll see a few other options, and I'm just going to shrink myself here so I'm a little bit out of the way, but you know I'm still here. If we drop this down, we have edit in place, we have github.dev, which is actually GitHub code spaces, that's a cloud developer environment, and we have GitHub desktop. I never use that, but I think that's a way to visualize your Git tree, okay? And so what I'm suggesting is us to edit in place. And notice here we have an edit and a preview. If we go to preview, we get a nice heading. If we go to edit, this is where we are seeing our Markdown. Markdown is its own syntax language. It's not that hard to learn. You'll pick it up very quickly. But I do need to point out that there is a GitHub flavored Markdown, so they've extended it with additional functionality, and we're probably going to be using some of that functionality. So what I'm going to do is go to a new page. I'm just going to type in GitHub flavored Markdown into Google search. I believe this is the specification, so this is the full document, which we can read this, but I think there's an easier one, which is on the GitHub docs, which is basic writing and formatting syntax. So we'll go over here, and we will start to see things like headings. We will see additional things such as styling text, quoting text, all sorts of stuff. But anyway, we'll get to it very quickly here and learn how to do that. So the first thing is heading. So I'm just going to go here. And by the way, I'm going to just bump this up so it's a little bit easier to see. So the first thing is we'll change this. And the next thing I want to do is make a new heading. So this will be a level 2 heading. So this could be, I'm going to change this to writing good documentation, okay? And we'll just say step 1. This will be using code blocks, okay? So code blocks in Markdown make it very easy for tech people to copy, paste, share code. A good cloud engineer uses code blocks whenever possible because it allows others to copy and paste their codes to replicate or to research issues. Okay, so if we go to preview here, notice that these are paragraphs, so these automatically turn into paragraphs. Another thing that I should probably mention is this is actually turning into HTML. So if we were to go ahead and inspect this, this turned into an H1, this turned into H2, these turned into Ps, okay? That's all you really need to know about that part there. But another thing is that in GitHub, they have these nice anchors, so we can link to these as well. But we'll go back over here, and let's see if we can play around with a few other things. Another thing that you might want to do is to bold or italic. So bold are double asterisks, whereas italic is single. So we'll go back over to here. So code blocks in Markdown make it very easy. So I'm going to make this italics. Okay, so that is there for tech people to copy, paste, and share code. And I'm going to make these bold. Okay, if you prefer, you can use the underscores. It's up to you. We can preview this to get a better idea of what it looks like. So that is very clear. We'll go back to our GitHub flavored Markdown, and we'll take a look at a few other things here. So that's what I would pull out of there. Here we're talking about code blocks. So code blocks are very important. They make things a lot easier. I'm going to go over to ChatGPT and just get it to generate me an example. So generate an example of code for Ruby and include an error. We don't need to include an error. Okay, so it's just generating something out for me here. Should have used GPT 3.5. There we go. So I'll copy this example here. You can get any code example you want, but we'll go back over here. We'll hit enter, we'll paste this in. And so we use these 3 backticks. These 3 backticks is the way that we do code blocks, not to be confused with single quotations. These look very similar, but let me point it out where it is on the keyboard. Just give me one moment. All right, so I have an image now. I just took a screenshot with my phone, and this is probably the only exception where I will accept a picture from a phone is if it's something that you cannot do with your computer. We'll talk about that here shortly, but I'm going to go ahead and open this with Paint. If you are on Windows, everybody has Paint. If you are on Mac, you have another piece of software, and maybe I'll go and shoot a video on that. But you can see this video is very large, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and resize this. So there is a resize button right here, if you can see it right there. And we will shrink it, so I'm not really sure how large this image is. Oh, that's very large. And so I'm going to just take this down to 600 pixels. We'll hit OK. And please don't make fun of my dirty keyboard. I didn't have time to clean that up there. But the tilde key that we're looking for here is this key right here. Okay, it is that top part there. I don't know if there's an arrow in this. It's right here. Okay, it's this key with the shift. Or sorry, I'm saying tilde, but we actually want the backtick. It's that line there. So I'll go ahead and save this file. And I'll just save this to my desktop. And I'm just going to call this backtick key. Okay. And I'm going to close this. And so now I just need to go back over here. So yeah, if you want a backtick, it leans back like that. Whoops, that way. And these are these are quotations. So I'm just going to show you the difference. This I think is a little bit too long. I'm just going to change this to be, let me just take out this part of the code. I just want to show you So this is with backticks. This is with single quotations, which is incorrect. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So what I'll do is copy this code here, and I'll paste it here. Okay, and we'll go and we'll preview. And notice right away, I can just zoom out here. Notice right away that the single quotations aren't working, but down below here we get a code block. So you really have to be careful and make sure that you do not set single quotations. So go back there. So back and reading this. So code blocks in Markdown make it very easy for tech people to copy, paste, and share code because it allows others to copy and paste their code to replicate or research issues. In order to create code blocks in Markdown, you need to use 3 backticks. Okay, not to be confused with single quotation. And I can make this into a list. So if we go over here, those minuses in the front will make a list. We'll flip back over here. Okay. It's not very clear what these are, so what we can do instead is use single quotations in order to show those. I'm not sure if that will work. It doesn't in this case. I have to escape that. Let me see if we can do it that way. Yeah, I can't show a backtick the same way. But anyway, I'll just go back to doing it the other way there. So yeah, we don't want to confuse the backticks for the single quotations. Okay. Another thing we can do is we can also color code this. So when you can, you should attempt to apply syntax highlighting to your code blocks. So we'll take the same code block here, paste it on down below. And the only difference here is that we're going to put the name of the language that we're using right here. So in this case, we're using Ruby, so we type in Ruby. It might even take RB, which is the extension for Ruby, but I'm going to type in Ruby here. We're going to go over to preview. And so now we can see that. So this would probably work for Terraform, HCL, CloudFormation. I'd probably type YAML because that's the format of it. Python. There's a lot of names for these syntax highlighting stuff. So, you know, if we are doing that, you'll see me listing them out so you'll know what names to put there. But go back over here and just ask yourself, which is easier to read, this one or this one, right? So we'll go back over here. And the next thing I want to do is add an image. So we save that image to our desktop. I know you don't have that image, but you can take any image off the internet if you want, or you can get this image from my repository. But this is that backtick key image. It's a JPEG. And so if I want to place this in here, all I have to do is drag the image into here. So I'm going to drag it into here, and I'm going to make sure it goes in the right spot, and it will upload, and then it will put in the code that I need to display the image. So I'll go back to the top. We'll go to preview. We'll scroll on down, and so we can see that image. So how did I make that image appear? Well, we'll go back over to our GitHub flavored Markdown, and we'll go to images, and they show you the syntax. It is exclamation mark, followed by square braces, and then parentheses. So we'll go back over here, and I'll just show you what I mean. So if we go back to our edit here and down below, I'm just going to take this out of here. You'll notice that's the format. Okay, so we have square braces. Just make this a bit bigger. Exclamation mark, square braces, parentheses for the link. So I'll cut that out, put it right back in. And now we have that. We'll scroll on down. So yeah, I do find this image to be a little bit too large. So what we can do is shrink that. You don't always have to fiddle with this stuff, but sometimes it's nice. So we go over to images. There probably is a way for us to resize that image. Let's go ask ChatGPT. Can I resize an image in GitHub flavored Markdown? And let's see what they say. Okay, so they don't have any specific ones, but probably what we can do is just provide the source directly and change it. So that's what I thought. Okay, so the thing is that you can pretty much put any HTML that is allowed in here, you can actually write it in here. So instead of doing this, we could easily do this, image source, and I can copy this link here and put it in as such. Go back all the way to the top and check preview, and we'll go down below, and you can see we have double image, right? I'm just going to click back here, and what I want to do here is just shrink the size. So let's say width equals 200 pixels, and that should greatly shrink that. Okay, so that's a lot smaller now. And I'm just going to go back and delete this one because that's not going to work for the case that we want. So I'll do that. We'll go back to our documentation. And if we just zoom out a little bit so we can see this. So I just want to point out where that tilde button is. So I'm going to go back over here. And we'll say up here, make note of where the tilde backtick button is. Backtick button is located. It should appear above the tab key, but it may vary based on your keyboard type. Because if you live in different countries, keyboard layout could be different. And so that's something to consider. So we'll go back over to preview here. And this is something I really, really, really want you to do. You can do this in Discord as well. And that's primarily where I want to see highlighted syntax. If I see this, I'm not going to help you. If I see a screenshot of this, I'm not going to help you. If I see a screenshot with your phone, I'm not going to help you. Okay? So just be clear on that. I really want you to do that. And the reason why is I can go in here and copy and paste this, or anyone else can. Sometimes people include the errors. So that is something that's really useful. So make sure that you do that. We'll also show an example for code. So I'll go here and just say, generate out an example error being raised in Ruby in the console. And I hope it prints something out. There we go. So yeah, this is a traceback. This is something that's very common that will help us locate where a problem is. And so what you do is you'd copy this. Or you put in bash here. Anytime you're copying out an error, from terminal or console, whatever you want to call it, you should be using bash because you're using a bash terminal. So we'll flip back over here and we'll see that highlight. So good cloud engineers use code blocks for both code and errors that appear in the console. Here is an example of using a code block for an error that appears in bash. Okay, and so this might be kind of like a note that we want to put under it. So what I'm going to do here is I want to make this a quoted block. So by doing this, I can have a quoted block. If we go over here, so we have quoting text, quoting code. And all it does is it just indents it and makes it gray. Usually this is for when you're doing quotes, but a lot of times it's just a way of breaking up the formatting, like as an aside note. So you can use it that way. It really depends on who you're talking to. But notice down below it says this. Here's an example of using a code block for an error that appears in bash. And notice here that this is not on another line. So you might say, make note of where the backtick is located. It should appear above the tab, but it may vary based on your keyboard. So to make this easier to read, I'm going to go back over here and I'm just going to make this a list. Okay, the goal is you want it to be easy to read so people will help you, and try not to make spelling mistakes, but I won't be upset if you do. I'm dyslexic, I make spelling mistakes all the time, so I probably won't even notice if you make any. So going back down below here, we can see this, right? So that's pretty clear for that. We'll just continue on here with the Markdown. So we did lists, we looked at images. Let's talk about links. So if you are learning how to do something, if you're researching something, you should be providing links as references. Imagine you're at school and you're writing an essay. People want you to cite your sources. So what we can do is go ahead and make a reference section. So I'm going to go down below here. I'm going to do ## for heading, level 2. And we'll just say references. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this one. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this one. Okay, so I'll hit enter, and we will scroll up, and we'll go to preview, and we'll scroll all the way down to the bottom. And notice that these will already create a link. It's not great because they are on the same line. So what we'll do is go back up to edit, and I'm going to put hyphens in front of them to turn it into a list. We'll go down below, and now we have them like that. We can make this even easier to read by providing more friendly names. So I'll go back to edit, and down below, we'll do square braces and then parentheses. This looks very similar to images. It is. The only difference is that it doesn't have an exclamation mark. So here, this is the GFM. So I'm going to go to this website and see what it's called. This is the GitHub flavored Markdown spec. So I'm going to go back over here and paste it in. And then this one is the getting started. So we'll go all the way to the top here and say basic writing and format syntax. So I'll go here and do something similar. And I'll paste that in. This is not very clear what this is, so I'm going to just say, put parentheses here and say GitHub flavored Markdown. We'll go back and preview, and so yours should look like this. So that's looking a lot better. You could do like numbers if you really wanted to, but this is not like a real essay, so you don't actually have to number them, but I figured I'll show you that for fun. So if we go over here, we have a section for styling, and we can do subscript or superscript. It looks like we don't have any kind of special characters for that, so if we wanted to do a subscript or superscript, that's where the character becomes small and up to the top, we could do that. So maybe we'll go down here, back over here, and we'll go back to edit, and we'll go all the way down to the bottom. And the way we can do that is we'll just do, was it sub they said? Or is it super? Already forgot. It is sup. Okay, so I'll do sup. I'll do 1. Usually do it like this. And we will do like that. Okay, and we'll take a look and see if that works. So see, it made the little 1 and the little 2. Now, normally the way those work is that you'd use these somewhere else as well. So you'd probably either would be an asterisk or the same format to reference them somewhere else. In your Markdown, we'd greatly appreciate that if you can. So let's imagine that we wanted to reference this somewhere. Probably a good example would be actually with checkboxes, because that's something special that GitHub can do for flavored Markdown. I think it's called task lists. Okay, so task lists is a GitHub specific feature. So we'll go down here and we'll just say step 3. I'm just going to skip step 2 for a second. This will be use GitHub flavored task lists. We'll just say here. So GitHub, I'm just going to bump this up a bit. GitHub extends GitHub flavored Markdown task list feature. Okay, GitHub extends Markdown to have a list where you can check off items. And so I want to reference that in the code here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this anchor. So whenever you see an anchor, that means that it's going to have this up in the top here. And so that allows us to jump to that very specific part. I go down below here. I'm going to add a new reference. I'm going to make square braces and then parentheses. And I'm going to just say GFM for GitHub flavored Markdown, task lists. And I'm going to take off this up here. I'm just going to have one there, take off this other one. And then we can reference this up here. So if we go into here, I'm going to try that sup over here. So we'll do this. And I'm not sure if you like the proper way when you're doing English essays, if it's supposed to be asterisk one or the same, but I'm just going to keep it the same. So we just zoom out a little bit here. So the idea is that this is now referencing that. Again, I'm not saying you have to do that, but that's just an example of how we can use Markdown. The more you do, the easier it is for myself or other folks to help you. The more we will take you seriously as an engineer, because you're showing your effort to do the work and to before you're asking to get help, okay? But anyway, so that is GitHub flavored Markdown. Let's actually go ahead and make one because those are pretty fun. So we'll go down over here, and what we'll do is make a list. So we'll say finish step 1, finish step 2, finish step 3. In my previous bootcamp, I actually made a task list. And I can tell you the bootcampers that made the best tier or had the best grade were the ones that noticed that and started filling that out. But anyway, so what we can do is just put an X there. I believe that's all we need to do. If we go back and preview it, we can now see that is checked and these are not yet checked. But we'll go back over there and we will checkbox that. I'm pretty sure there is a way to pull up emojis in here. I'm not exactly sure. Let's go ask, how do you include emojis in GitHub flavored Markdown? I'm hoping that ChatGPT knows what I mean when I say GFM. They have short codes for that. Okay, so it's the standard ones I thought there would be. So I'm wondering where that list is. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Okay, great. So they have a list right here. So we'll open this up. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this back over here. And I'm going to put that as a reference as well. So this will be GitHub flavored Markdown emoji cheat sheet. So we'll just say step 4. I know we skipped step 2. We'll come back to it in a moment. So use emojis. This will be optional. So we'll go back over here and we'll take a look. And they have all sorts of stuff. I'm going to look one for cloud. So there is cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And we're going to say, so GFM supports. And by the way, if this is the first time we mentioned GFM anywhere in here, and I think it is, it's a really good idea to put its full name. Okay, and then in future areas, when you reference it, it's okay. But we'll say GitHub flavored Markdown supports emoji shortcodes. Here are some examples. And so this would be a great time to make a table. We're just going to flip back here to see if our emoji appears. So it does. And we'll go back to edit here. And so I'm going to make a table. To make a table, if we go over here on the right-hand side, we should have tables somewhere here. Tables, tables, tables. Where are you? I know they have tables. And I guess they don't include in this list. So it says basic formatting. Let's go back here. There's no advanced formatting. That's okay. We have the spec here. We can just see it over here. And so somewhere here we have tables. And here they show examples. So here if we want to create this kind of table, we can just copy and paste it. Tables can be a little bit tricky because you have to make sure you do exactly 3 hyphens here. But what we'll say is the name, the code, or sorry, the short code here. And then we'll just say the emoji. So I'm going to go ahead and do hyphen, 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 pipe, and we'll paste that in. If you've never heard of a pipe before, that's a pipe. A pipe is a key that appears just below the delete key. And I'll take a screenshot of that in just a moment so we can see it. So I'm going to put cloud in here as well. And we'll just say clouds. I think it's cloud, right? And so if we go back to preview, go all the way down the bottom, you'll see that it's appearing, but I want to show the short code there. So the way I can do that is by doing single backticks. So if we do this, go all the way back to the top, okay? And all the way to the bottom, now it will display that. So that's a way of doing like code blocks inline whenever you just need like a single word or a thing like that. I'm pretty sure they'll talk about it here in the main documentation. So I'm just gonna go all the way to the top here, see if we can find it. Code blocks, code blocks, code blocks. Say code, fenced code. Yeah, so I guess they're calling fence code is when you use the triple backticks. Oh, you can use tildes as well. I didn't know that. Interesting. But yeah, you can see there is a lot of variation, but the point is that just learn one way to do it and just make sure that it looks good and people will be happy with it. But anyway, we'll go back over to here. And so we have cloud. I'm going to go just add a few more. It looks like it auto-completes, at least here. So I'm going to give that a go. So let's go ahead and try some different ones. I'm going to go here and start typing cloud. And we have cloud with lightning. So I'll do that again. Cloud with lightning. Cloud with lightning. Let's just say cloud with lightning. And if you want, maybe it'd be a great opportunity for you to list out some of the emojis if you want to reuse them. Sometimes I see folks use emojis in their commit messages, which looks really cool, but it's up to you what you want to do. So we have that. I think it might be important to point out where the pipe is. And so we'll go up here, say step 5, how to create a table. I'm just go ahead and copy this. We'll make a code block here. And so for this, we can actually do Markdown. So I think we can just do MD for Markdown. We'll see if that works, which is just the extension. We'll know if it highlights it correctly. I mean, it looks like it's highlighting it correctly, but I'm going to go try that again. Say Markdown. It is. So we can use either the short form based on the extension, or we can use the full name. So I'll just do Markdown again there. And we know that we can't find that reference here in the basic syntax. It's over here. So what I'm going to do is try to go and grab that. So go all the way to the top here, and we'll scroll on down. We'll look for table. Here it is. We'll go grab that. And I'll put that in my reference again. GitHub. By the way, this is supposed to be an F. GitHub flavored Markdown. Tables with extensions. GitHub flavored Markdown makes tables a lot easier to use. They give you some additional functionality for alignment. So if you do this or this, you can get different stuff. It just depends on what result you want. We're not going to really cover all these advanced examples. If you have some use case, you can go ahead and read up on it and experiment. And for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and do a 2. and I'll copy this. You can use the following Markdown format to create tables. GitHub extends the functionality of Markdown tables to provide more alignment and formatting, table cell formatting options. Okay, so let's just go ahead and I was trying to grab this here, that's fine. And we will go back up here and go to preview. There we go. One thing we might want to do is we might want these to jump to the references. So what we can do is make a link to that. So we've been doing links down here, but we might want to do a link just to this specific anchor. The way we can do that is I'm going to wrap this in squares, which is what we want to display as the link, and then we want our parentheses. And so we want a link to here, and what we can do is do a pound and just type in references. So the way this works is this name will be lowercased and hyphenized. So if you had like references, like we'll say external references, then this would be like this, external references. And it would know to jump to that place. So I'll go to preview here and see if that works. And we'll click this. And notice up here, it adds the anchor. I'm not 100% sure if it is working. So because this has nothing to scroll to, so we need to go farther up on the page. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this one here and we'll paste it in and we'll give it a 1. If we go back to preview, I want to look for that 1. I know it's somewhere here. There it is. If I click it, it should jump down to the bottom. Notice that it's not jumping down, so that means I've made a mistake. If we're not 100% sure, what we can do is just right click and inspect this element. And it should have a name on this. It also might not work until later, but I see here it says external references, so maybe I named it wrong. So I'll go ahead here and just copy this value. Okay. And I'm going to go back all the way up to the top here. We'll go to edit. And I'm just going to paste this in place. I must have made a spelling mistake. Let's paste this in here. Nope, it's correct. It might be that it won't work until we save it. So these anchors might not work on this particular page. And so after we save it, it will work. So I'm going to just assume that it's going to work later on. So we're not going to really worry about that this moment here. I think it's important to know where that pipe character is. So what I'm going to do is just take a screenshot of it. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so I have a new screenshot. I took this with my phone, and yeah, when it's close up, it doesn't look that great, does it? But we'll go ahead and resize that. And last time we made it like 800, that was too large. So I'm going to go here and say 250 because that seems more appropriate. And I just want to highlight where that is. So I'm just going to make a circle. And I want to change it to red, so it's very clear what we are highlighting here. I'm going to save that to my desktop. We call this pipe character. Okay. And we'll close this and we'll bring that image in. So I'm just dragging it from my desktop. So the image is right here. I will drag it in. If you don't want to drag it, there's probably some way to upload it another way. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the other way you can add assets, because here, the way it's added it, I dragged in that image. I'm just trying to curious where it went. Yeah, I put it into the assets directory here. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll upload it directly. So what I'll do is I'll commit these changes here. I'm just going to save these. And I just want to show you that you can manually upload files. So if we go over to code here, I think it created an assets folder for us. It's not showing up here, so it must be somewhere else. But let's say we want to create a new folder. What we can do is go here and I don't exactly want to, I do want to upload a file, but I want to make sure there's a folder first. So we'll go ahead and create a new file first. And I actually don't want a file. I just want to have a folder. So I can just say assets here. I'm going to see if it lets us make that. So create assets folder. Should let us. And did it make it? It made a file. Okay, so that's not exactly what I wanted. I'm going to go there. I thought it would have created a folder for us, but nope. So I'll go ahead and delete this file. And we'll just try to upload one this time, okay? So we'll go here and we'll add a file. We'll say create or upload file, sorry. And I'm going to drag back in this backtick one. I'm also going to bring in the pipe character because now it's somewhere else. I'm not even exactly sure where it's been uploaded to. And I now have those folder files where? Let's give this a refresh here. They are not exactly where I want them to be. So what I'm going to do is if I upload these files, yeah, it didn't give us that option. So what I should have done, I'm just going to delete these. So we'll try this one more time. I'm going to go ahead and delete this file. And I also want to, yeah, we'll commit those changes, sure. I want to delete this file, commit those changes. We'll go back here. And I don't want this as a file, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Oops. We'll go here, try this one more time. Delete this file. Commit changes, commit changes. So what I really want to do, I can go back over here, is I actually want to create a folder. And so I just need a file there for that folder to exist. So I'm going to go here and call this assets again. And this time I'm going to go / and I'm going to type in .keep. So .keep is a very common file. It's just an empty file to keep a folder. So people are pretty common or are used to that. And now we're in this folder, and so I want to upload here. So just make sure from the home, you click into this assets folder, and we add the files, and we say upload those files. So I'm going to go ahead and drag those files in again. So they're just up here. I'm just showing I'm dragging them in. And we'll drag and drop them. So there they are. We'll go ahead and commit those changes. By the way, earlier on, we did that hyperlink. I want to see if that works. Yep, see it's jumping down to the bottom. So it didn't work in the preview, but it works over here. But we do have this image, but I'd rather it link to this assets directory, and we want to put in the other one there. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. And the first one I want to do is I want to put in the pipe image. So I'm going to go here and do an exclamation mark, square braces, parentheses, and we will reference it. So normally you'd have to give a full URL, but the good thing is that GitHub is able to recognize relative files. So I should be able to type in assets and whatever that name of that image is, which I already forgot what it is. So I'm going to just go back up a level here and take a look. We'll go into assets, and this is called pipechar.jpg. So we'll go down all the way down to the bottom, and I'll paste that in there. And so I'm expecting this to work. So I'll just say screenshot or a photo of the pipe character on a keyboard, on our keyboard. We'll go to the top, preview. You just zoom out here for a second. And notice that. So that's a much cleaner way to put in images, because then you have a very short link. The other one up here, notice that it is referencing a absolute path, which is totally fine. The only issue here is, well, there's no issue, but I don't think we can do the same thing. So if we wanted to take that short URL here, I'm not sure if it would actually work up there. I'm going to go ahead and just try it up here very quickly and see if it takes. And it actually does. I didn't know that it could do that. So that's actually pretty impressive. So what I'll do is go ahead and grab the backtick key, and we will go down here and we'll paste it into the correct location. I'm going to grab this this list here. I'm going to put it above this one and give it some similar annotation. So make note of where the pipe, I said button, it's not button, it's a character. We'll go to previous here. This is going to be character. keyboard key is located. It should appear above the return or enter key, but it may vary based on your keyboard layout. So that is what a pipe looks like. So we've been taking photos with our phone. When it comes to code, I really do not want to see you take photos of code from your phone. So I'm going to go back up to our example here. Okay, and I'm going to show you what I really don't want you to do. I'm just going to pull out my phone and take a photo, okay? All right, so I've taken a photo with my phone, and so what I want to do is just go ahead and upload that. So I'm in this assets directory. I'm going to add a file here. I'm going to upload this file. And we can drag, or I can choose from files. I'm going to just go ahead and drag it. So over here, so phone photo, and we'll commit that. And I'm just going to go back to our markup here. And I want to make our step 2. So let's just say here, don't take photos with, or so we'll just say how to take screenshots. A screenshot is when you capture a part of your screen from your laptop, desktop, or phone. This is not to be confused with taking a photo with your phone. Okay, and I want to show the example of what not to do. A photo with your phone. So this is assets/phone photo, JPG. Okay, and so we go down here. And so this is an example of a photo with your phone. If you do this, I'm not going to help you. No one's going to help you. They're going to be mad at you because as engineers, we can't see the full picture. It is harder to read. We can't copy and paste the text. And it generally indicates you don't know what you're doing. So I really want to make sure that you understand this, that I will not accept this whatsoever in any form, okay? But I understand why people do it. It's just that back in the day, we didn't have phones, and now it's so convenient. So it might not be obvious that it might be easier, or it's a useful skill that you should know how to do, which is take screenshots. But anyway, so this is not to be confused with taking a photo with your phone. So don't do this. And we'll do a bold around that. Okay, so the way so this is what a screenshot from your computer should look like. And so what I'm going to do is take a screenshot. So on different computers, the keys are different. For Windows, it's Command-Shift-S. For Apple, it's Command-Shift-4, I think. So how do I take screenshots for Mac and Windows? Hotkeys. And I know what they are, but they're muscle memory for me, so I can't tell you what they are off the top of my head. There we go. So they have Command-Shift-4. Oh, that's just for Mac. Yeah, Mac has a lot of options. And yeah, you can use the print screen. I always do Command-Shift-S. That's the one that I do, this one right here. Okay, and so we're getting all the options here. And this is actually all really good information, so I'm definitely going to copy and paste it. It's very accurate. And I'm going to go back over here. And we'll paste this, this formatting in here. And I think actually, ChatGPT, I think, returns back Markdown. So if I go here, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And we'll go back over here and paste it in. There we go. I'll just go back and preview that. The only thing is that, that formatting's fine. So it gives us examples. Notice this is not breaking onto the next line. I'm not really sure why it's doing that. Oh, you know what? You have to have a space in between it. Sometimes that happens. So say, do this instead. Okay. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do Command-Shift-S. I don't know if you'll be able to actually see it when I'm taking the screenshot, but we'll try this here. Okay. And I'm going to go back over here. And so on Windows, when you copy it, it saves to your clipboard and you have to paste it into something. On Mac, it saves to your desktop, I believe. But what I'm going to do is open up Paint, because on Windows, that's what you have to do. I'm going to paste it in. So I'll do paste. And so now you have your screenshot. So let's say save as. We'll go to the desktop. And this is a PNG. I might just save it as a JPEG. PNGs and JPEGs are usually what we want. I'm just going to stick with JPEG here today. Actually, when it's screenshots, I would say do PNG, because they're just sharper. Screenshot example. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save that. And I'm going to go back over to my other page here, into assets. I just want to upload that file. We'll go ahead and drag in that screenshot example. I'm going to go ahead and commit that. And we'll go into assets here. And I'm going to go and grab this. And we want to have it under here. So we'll make an image. We'll say screenshot example. And I just want to say something over here. So when you can, always provide a code block instead of a screenshot. If you need to take a screenshot, make sure it's not a photo from your phone. And I'm just going to make a quotation, kind of like a sidebar, saying there are certain cases where it's okay to take photos with your phone. This is when you are showing something like a keyboard, which does not appear on a computer screen. If it is rendered on your computer screen, it should be a screenshot. And there are some cases where it is on your screen, you can't take a screenshot. Example would be when you're booting up your computer. But once it's booted into the OS, you have the capabilities of doing it. So I kind of expect you to always do that. So yeah, we are covering quite a bit here. This is looking pretty good. Let's just go over to the GitHub flavored Markdown and see if there's anything else of interest. Oh, footnotes. Maybe we should have used footnotes. This actually is quite interesting. Yeah, look at that. I didn't know this was built in, so we were actually doing that earlier. So maybe we'll go ahead and give that a go. So I'm going to go and try that out. Again, I don't think anyone's going to get upset with you if you do it this way. But since this is supported, I don't know if this is specific just to GitHub or other ones, but I don't recall Markdown having footnotes. So I think this might be GitHub flavored Markdown. But I'm going to go ahead and just grab this here. And we'll try it out. So we have the one somewhere here. Looking for it. There's our one. We'll just take out the link as well. We don't really need that now. We'll go down below here. And I'm going to put this here. And we'll do that for 2. And we'll try to find our 2 reference here. I think that was under tables here. And we'll see if we did that correctly. So we'll go to preview. And so we have Should have that somewhere. Go all the way to the bottom. They're not formatted correctly. So it might be that we need to do it this way. Yeah, so what we'll do is go back over here to this. And I'm just going to cut it out. And we'll try this instead. I've never used this feature before, so I'm not exactly sure if it will produce what we want. But we'll try it anyway. We'll go to preview. No. So, I mean, this one's working, but the other one isn't. I can't say I'm a huge fan of that, but you know, if you can get it to work, that I'm totally fine with that. I'm just going to go back and revert it. Okay, so you know, just use your best judgments when doing this stuff. So I'm going to stick with the implementation that I have there, but we'll go back and check the documentation a little bit more here. Some stuff about paragraphs. Nothing interesting there. Just leave a new space there. Relative links, that's something we covered. Section links, I guess that's the anchors. We did that as well. There is a little bit more we could talk about. Like we could link to another page. That might be interesting. Apparently there is supported color models. I did not know that, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, that would be the last thing we'll do is we'll just make an inline or another markdown file here. So what I want to do is go ahead and commit these changes. We've made a lot of changes here. And I'm going to go back up to the top level. I just want to create a file within a folder. So I'm just going to say create a new file. And I'm just going to say secret. I'm going to say secret window, tab, hidden garden.md. I put in the MD so it knows it's a markdown file. And I'm just going to go over here and write a paragraph about secret window, hidden garden. Give that a go here. I really should ask GPT 3.5 because it's a lot faster, but I'm just looking for any kind of text here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that. Really didn't have to wait for that, but that's what I did. And we'll go ahead and commit those changes. So what I want to do is I want to link to this particular file. And so we can do relative paths for that. We'll go ahead and edit this file. We go all the way to the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is type in square braces, parentheses, secret window, hidden garden. And I'm going to type in secret window, hidden garden.md. And so that should link to it. I think we have to save it for it to work. I don't think we can just click through there. I'm just going to scroll all the way down the bottom and see if it works. And it does. Okay, so hopefully that makes things really clear. One other thing is you might want to reference code. I'm not sure how important that is, honestly, right here. So I would say this is good enough. But hopefully you've learned quite a bit here and you're going to be very comfortable writing Markdown. But we'll have to talk a bit more about framing good questions and also using Markdown other places like Discord or things like that. But we'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.